You can be married and not be caged. Most of the time we feel that when we are married, then that's the end of it, you can't follow your passions. But I think I've done the most when married than when I was single. If you are still single and you have not found a guy, look for a guy who's not intimidated by who you are.
The relationship has actually transformed me into to be somebody who actually self-reflects a lot. I think I didn't do much of that until I met her, because she's somebody, generally women would like to have these meetings of how far have we fared so far and where do we want to go. Those are questions that women and wives in general would like to ask. The guys, we just go with the flow. Generally, guys just go with the flow, and we always avoid talks. Guys always want to avoid talks. But women will always come and ask critical questions. Sometimes they're uncomfortable, but you then get to reflect as a person. I think this is one aspect of my life which I think has been actually grown ever since I met her, whereby I also need to reflect on my life personally and my role personally, and where am I in the relationship and where we are going as a couple. For me, I think that aspect of my life has been polished by meeting her. Yeah.
I think one thing that is very important, and also for women, and that has happened to me, was that you can be married and not be caged. You can be married and understand your worth and fly, because he has allowed me that to fly with so much support, without restrictions, and allowing me to be amazing in everything that I want to be amazing, and everything that I didn't even see and think that I can be amazing in. But he has picked those things and say, look, fly in this direction, fly in that direction, and allowed me to do that. Because I think most of the time we feel that when we are married, then that's the end of it, you can't follow your passions. But I think I've done the most when married than when I was single, because he has allowed me that space. But I think mostly it's because he's not insecure. I think once you get a man who's not insecure, you are good to go. Like, find that. If you are still single and you have not found a guy, look for a guy who's not intimidated by who you are, and they're able to even help you identify more, of who you are, and allow you to fly. So I think by meeting him, that has allowed me to get to even know me better, love me better, love my passions, explore my passions, and fly. So yeah.
What have I learned from her? I think issues about commitment, dedication, commitment and dedication and focus. I think those are the things that I learned the most from him.
I think what I've learned from him is identifying non-matters and issues that matter, because that has also just been a big thing, that sometimes we glorify things that we don't have to. So I've learned to know that if you want to build, be intentional in identifying what is yes, what is no. If you are saying yes to this, what are you actually saying no to? And that is one thing that I've really learned the most from him.
The advice that I will give to, firstly, those who are in relationships, I would say make sure that you have your fundamental goals in your relationship. Make sure that these are the things that we prioritize in our relationship. Have those, communicate about those, let them be few. You cannot have a Bible full of things and you want your partner to always keep on checking, am I still right? That's where you're going to kill the vibe out of your relationship. So have the few things that that these are the things that matters. These are the things that we concentrate on. And look, we learn every day. We learn every day in relationship. You can never have a formula that no, I'm on autopilot now, as long as I'm having this formula, things are just flowing. We learn every day, and you also can't control everything. Or the only thing that you need to do is to create parameters for your relationship, that though I cannot control the flow, but let the flow within these particular parameters. You know, you and also be willing to work, because relationship is work. You know, I wrote a book called "Who Has the Pens?" You know, who has the pens in a relationship. That the one who has the pens in the relationship is the one who's willing to make the relationship work. You know, that's, for me, that's what I will advise people in relationships. And as to singles, given the times change all the time, you know, each and every generation has its own customs and beliefs and all that. But the singles today, I will always encourage them that we are in a generation which is clouded by a lot of media, a lot of pressure from social media. Stay away from those. Find your role models, stay away from social media role models, because people are acting, people are paid to be influencers, to do things, and people are paid to be controversial. You cannot base your relationship based on somebody's relationship, but find real people, you know, find real people to look up to, because you need to learn these things. Some of these things you learn them by association. That's the first thing. But also work on yourself as an individual. One of the reasons why relationships fail is because people get into a relationship while they are not matured individually. You know, they just want to get into a relationship, and you find two immature people in the relationship. Whenever there is a challenge, then the whole thing collapses. Yes. So work on yourself. When being single is an opportunity for you to work on yourself. You know. And also the last thing about singles is that don't get somebody who's going. We like this narrative of complimenting. I don't know what are other terms, but look, why would you need somebody to? Because the moment you want somebody to compliment you, you are already raising standards for that particular person. And what if the person comes and does not fill those shoes that you have created for them, and then you start to be demoralized, depressed? You feel like I married wrong. You know, I'm a medical doctor. I wanted to marry an engineer. I wanted to marry an accountant. You understand? Because you're thinking about complimenting stuff. Be content with yourself, so that to a point whereby your potential partner is somebody that you want to love, not necessarily you want to benefit from your potential partner.
Sure.
That's what I will actually advise the singles. Yeah.
I love that. Let me actually just start with the singles as well. I think it would be correctly influenced and inspired, and do not compare, because comparison then kills you. Comparison gets you what you actually don't want, because you are comparing and you think this actually works better with that, but is that what you really want? Is that who you are? So identify who you are, so that you are able to also align your expectations, that your expectations become real, not what you see on the platforms, media platforms that we have, or the people that you love. I mean, you can love us as a couple, but we should be able to correctly influence you and inspire you with principles, that these are principles of marriage, not how we do things. Then you must just copy and paste into yours, because then you are going to be frustrated. You are not Mapula and Neo, and you are not whoever that you are seeing on the socials. And also remember, sometimes issues of socials is content. We're pushing content, and that's what we think you want to see. That's what we think you want to hear. So find genuine content if it's issues of content that you need, or find genuine inspiration, but also know how to be correctly inspired, how to be correctly influenced, and know that marriage is a decision. Take that decision. You must be responsible. It's issues of responsibility, and I think most of the time people don't want to be responsible. Singles, actually these days, why are you guys so, you don't want to take responsibility? We have taken responsibility to be with one another, and I think that is what pushes this whole thing to keep going, because we've taken a responsibility that we want to be with one another, and we are responsible for the decisions that we want to take, and because I think it remains the fruits of the decision that you want to that you've made, that you are responsible for. So to the married ones, change is inevitable. Allow yourselves to change as per whatever season that you are in, but also change within the frames. I think he spoke about clarifying the frames that you're moving within, that when you keep changing, you also align back to who you are, what you guys want, what you guys are building. So don't say when things changing like, oh my god, who's this person I married? You know, if your financial status change, that is bound to change you guys as individuals, but allow yourself to change within the frames of what you are building, within the frames of who you are, and you allow yourselves to grow in that space. Don't allow change to then cripple what you have, but like what he said, continue to clarify what you have, because sometimes we speak about communication, but communication can be so broad. We need to understand it the way that it speaks to us. I mean, we can talk about kids, how to raise kids, but you find out his idea of raising kids and my idea of raising kids are completely different. So we need to put it on the table and dissect it to say, what does this really mean to you? What does this mean? And we identify what it means to us. So allow those kind of changes to really be very clear and very specific, and you move within that.
Yeah, and also just lastly, communicate your expectations to one another, because most of the relationships die because they never communicated their expectations. You're expecting things which you have never communicated, and when you don't get those things, then you think this is not the one, she's not the one, he's not the one, I'm moving to the next. So
true. And I think kill the vibe. He must just know he's a man. Why doesn't he know I want flowers? No. If I want flowers, I must communicate that I actually love flowers. I would prefer that you get me flowers regularly. There's nothing that is going to take away from me from communicating exactly what I want, because the assumption is that every man knows what needs to happen, every woman knows what needs to happen. No, but he does not know what needs to happen to you. So who must know? You know, and can communicate what you know. So it's really important that we get over the pride of not communicating what we want specifically, because that helps you. We're all happy because we're getting what we want. But if we have pride that the next person must assume what I want, then you will be hurt. He won't be hurt. Sometimes he's genuinely does not know well in that time whether you're expecting all these things. So clearly communicate and kill the pride of saying the next person must assume what you want. So you communicate very clear. Yeah, well, that's how we met, and that's our love story. And just work on your relationship, but in working on your relationship, just make sure that it doesn't become a job, But it's so hard, it's so principled, it's so black and white. Just have fun. Make sure that you preserve all your energies for fun in the relationship and avoid any other thing that is going to steal your joy. That's it from Mapula and Neo Legodi. Who wears the pants? Is it you? Is it me? Is it him? Hope you enjoyed this. Goodbye. Bye.